Okay, students, in last lecture we have discussed about what is called air, how air is polluted, different type of pollutants. Also, we have discussed about the oxides of nitrogen, oxides of sulfur, hydrocarbons, which are generally made up of hydrogen and carbon. Also, we have discussed about effect of air pollution. Due to air pollution, what happens, right? So in that cases we have understood that different type of disease can take place, like allergy, cancer, or heart disease may cause to us. Similarly, as we have discussed about air pollution, today we are going to discuss about the another factor, right? The another type of pollution, that is our first, that water. We are going to discuss about what is water, right? What is importance of water. Okay, so let's start our lecture. First of all, water, it's a very, very, very wonderful liquid. It is a very wonderful liquid. Why it is wonderful liquid? Okay, we know very well that whenever we give this type of word for any element, so it will have some qualities. Due to this quality, we are giving this type of words, right? So water, it is said to be a wonderful liquid. Why water is called wonderful liquid? It is simple. We know that on our earth, on our whole planet, if we take our planet earth, right? So in that earth, in the fourth part, three part is of water. So there is too much, a large area of earth is covered by water, right? Also, if we talk about the atmosphere, in our atmosphere also, water is in term of vapor, right? Mostly on our planet, water is found in sea and ocean. But this water which is there in sea and ocean, that is saline. Saline means it contains salt. That will be salt containing water. Okay. If we talk about the fresh water, fresh water means, right, the water which we are using for our drinking, so that is a fresh water. So what are the sources of this fresh water? Generally, if we talk about the sources of this fresh water, there will be ice caps, right, at the two poles are north pole and our south pole. These both poles, right, and at this north pole and south pole, we know that the ice caps means the water that is in frozen form, right? So that is the main source of fresh water, right? Another source of water, that will be our underground water. Okay, if we think about another source, here fresh water means ice cap, means the water which is in frozen form at our north pole and south pole. Also the underground water is main source of water. Also in rivers, lakes and ponds, the fresh water is present. Okay, so these are the main sources of water and generally fresh water, right? So availability of fresh water may be different at other places, right? In our world also, we are very lucky that we are having sufficient amount of fresh water. There are some countries like Zimbabwe, they are not getting fresh water, right? So they are continuously refining that dirty water and they are using to drink it. According to this distribution of water, right, the development can be different at different places, right? Where there is a desirable amount of water, there the development can be more, and where there is scarcity of water, at that places development can be less, right? So every summer most places have to face a shortage of water, because we know that during summer there is more sunlight, so water will get evaporate easily, so there will be shortage of water. Most places have to face the shortage of water, and in rural area where the water supplying systems are not installed, right, at rural areas where water supply systems are not installed, they will suffer from shortage of water. Okay, sir. So simple. Why water is a wonderful liquid? Because on our planet 75 percentage, almost 75 percentage is covered with water. In our atmosphere also water is present in vapor form. A large amount of water is present in sea and ocean, but that is saline, means it contains salt. The sources of fresh water, that is ice caps, which is in frozen form at our north pole and south pole. Also the underground water, river, ponds, lakes, they all are sources of fresh water in rural areas during summertime, right, where the water supply system is not installed, so there will be shortage of water. Now one more question arises in our mind, that is water important for every organism? Is water important for all organism, for every organism? So the answer is yes. Why? First of all, water is important for every organism. Why water is important for every organism? Okay, it's very simple. Different organisms, they do different life process, and generally the cellular process means which is done in cells. Cellular process means which is done in cells, and we know that cell is the fundamental unit, right? So cellular process, mostly the cellular process, they all take part in medium of water, right? So generally they all take part in medium of water. So all the reaction that take place within our body and within the cell, right, they all will require a medium of water. So for all of the activities water is very necessary. And as we know that the transportation of food, right, transportation of nutrients in our body also, it is done by the medium of water. So we can say that transportation of different nutrients, medium of water is very necessary. Okay, and due to all this cellular process in transportation, the water is very necessary. So all the organisms, what they will do, they will maintain level of water. So this way the question may be asked to you, that why every organisms are maintaining level of water in them. So what will be our answer? It's very simple, that every organisms do some life process, do some cellular activities. In that cellular activities which is done by cell, medium of water is required. Also in the transportation, right, of nutrients from one place to another, medium of water is very necessary. So due to all these activities by which life is possible, water is necessary. So every organisms will maintain water in their body, right? But we know that the most of water which we have in sea and ocean, that is saline, right? That will be salt water. Terrestrial life forms, right? Terrestrial life form means life on earth. Terrestrial life forms, they require fresh water. Okay, and for that fresh water, if the fresh water, as we all know that here the 75% water we have, but it contains more amount of salt, so we can't use it for our drinking purpose, we can't use this water for our irrigation purpose. For that we will require only the fresh water. Now our problem is, as we are developing, we are polluting this fresh water, right? And how that pollution is done of fresh water, what is importance of that fresh water, let us see. Also we know that where the fresh water is more, right? So how we can predict from the fresh water, where there is more fresh water means there will be more diversity, there will be more biodiversity where there is fresh water, so that the another organisms can survive better, right? So more water means it will decide the diversity of the life, right? Not only the diversity, it is dependent on water, it is also dependent on the nature of soil and temperature. But water is also the important factor to decide the biodiversity, right? So due to all this importance, water is known as wonderful liquid. Now let's see that what is called water pollution. Okay, so our next topic is water pollution. First of all, what is meaning of this pollution? As we have discussed earlier, that pollution means undesirable substances, or which are known as pollutants, when this is added into atmosphere, that is called pollution, right? Water pollution means the undesirable substances which is not necessary, if it enters into the water bodies, that is called water pollution. Now which are that undesirable substances which not be mixed with our water resources? So first we can say that it is fertilizers and pesticides, right? Fertilizer and pesticides, we know that we are using fertilizer and pesticides to get more crops, but this fertilizers and pesticides, they are used by the plants, and the rest which is not used by the plants, they will go under the land, okay, and it will pollute our underground water, right? So it decrease the fertility of land also, and it affects to our underground water also. In different cities, that we know that the sewage waste from towns and cities, and from different factory, right? From different factory, see the sewage waste from different factory, right? From towns and cities, it is dumped into rivers and lakes, right? So due to this also water pollution take place. The another factor by which the water is polluted, that is different industries, I mean different factories. Due to this industries and factories, they are using water as the coolant, right? They are using water as coolant, okay, and as that water is used, so that hot water, the water which becomes hot as it is used as a coolant, the water will become hot, and this hot water, they are returning, right? They are giving it back to water bodies. Now what happens when this hot water, it is returned to water bodies? See, we know that in water there will be different type of organisms, right? So due to this hot water, due to this hot water, organisms will get disturbed. For some organism it may be useful, but for some organism it will be very harmful, right? So this way also water pollution is done, right? So ultimately water pollution, it is done by our activity, by a human's activity. These all activities are done by humans, right? Now let's see, if we want to describe that, how the water pollution is created, we can do it only in three terms, right? The first term is the addition of undesirable substances. If the undesirable substances are added into water, it will cause the water pollution, and in that we know what we will have. We will have fertilizer and we will have pesticides. If this fertilizer and pesticides are added into water, so that is considered as water pollution, and due to this different type of disease can also take place, and we know that one of the water, the disease which is done from water, that is cholera, right? That is called waterborne disease. The disease which is done by water, that is our waterborne disease. So see, this way the addition of undesirable substances like fertilizer, pesticides, and different type of mercury salt, by this all our water is getting polluted, and it can harm us by giving us the disease like cholera, right? Okay, so the another factor, the another effect, if we want to describe, we can say that if we remove, means that is the removal of desirable substances. Now we will study this in higher standard, that we will have BOD and COD, biological oxygen demand and chemical oxygen demand, that we will study in higher standard. But right now we can take this as a very easy concept, that the organisms which are there in water, right, they require the oxygen, right? So they are using dissolved oxygen. If by such activities, if this dissolved oxygen, it get decreases, so that is also considered as water pollution, right? So if this type of activity is done in which the desirable substances are removed, the dissolved oxygen it's getting decreased, the nutrients which is useful are getting decreased, so that is also considered as water pollution. And the third one is a change in temperature. As we have discussed earlier, that different organisms, right, these organisms, they can live in a favorable temperature. They have a certain range of temperature. If that range of temperature is not maintained, right, they cannot survive to the temperature change, and the eggs and larvae of different animals, right, it will get susceptible in temperature change. So this is also the factor that if there is a change in temperature, so maximum if there is a more difference in that temperature change, so most of the organisms are not able to survive against that temperature change and they will die, right? So this way how water is important for us, as we have discussed that most of the water it's on earth, it's also in atmosphere in form of vapor. It is maximum in sea and ocean. It is but the sea and ocean have the saline water, the fresh water, the sources of it, that will be ice cap which is in frozen form at our north pole and south pole, underground water, river, lake, ponds. These all are sources of fresh water. Water is very essential because all of the cellular process, the process of transportation of nutrients from one point to another in our body, it's very necessary, and all that processes are done in medium of water. So all of the organisms will maintain the level of water in their body, right? Terrestrial life forms, they require fresh water, right? And where there is fresh water there will be more biodiversity. Soil, temperature, water, these all are very important. What is called water pollution, undesirable substances are added, or if there is a removal of desirable substances, or if there is a change in a temperature, so it will create the water pollution. Okay, so as we have discussed that what is called water pollution and how water is important to us.